Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. I hope everyone is having a good day wherever you are. I hope you've had a good week. I hope the weather is better there than it is here. Excuse me. Of course, we have rain. We don't have snow and we don't have ice. So I guess I could be thankful for that. And I'm thankful for the rain, too, because, it's needed. And but, it just makes for a dreary day and it makes me sleepy. So I'm not going to hold you for too long today. So we're going to move right on to today's show now that we have that out of the way. So the title of today's show is Practice Makes Perfect, and the topic is polishing your manuscript. When I was a child, I remember my mother always saying that practice makes perfect, and I didn't understand what she meant by that, but now after years of do-overs, I finally get it. It's true in all that you do. You practice until whatever it is you're doing is as close to perfect as you can get. And I think that was the message that my mother was trying to send when she would say that. No matter what it was we were doing, she would always say, "Practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect." And so, and I took that, now I took that to mean that you keep doing it and doing it and doing it until you do it right. And so I thank her for that bit of wisdom because, it's gone a long way. And so now that I said that, now I know that no one and nothing is perfect, but polishing helps a bunch. Would you use dull silver without polishing it to its shiniest for your guest, or perform a concert without many hours of practice, or climb a mountain without being properly trained? Of course you wouldn't. So we should give our written work the same attention. Now, let's talk about writing manuscripts. And we all know how important it is to cross every T and dot all I's. No dangling participles, improper use of verbs, nouns, and pronouns, not to mention showing instead of telling. Well, to ensure your work is in tip-top shape, you'll need help. So you need editors and proofreaders and reviewers. All of these entities are necessary components on the road to perfection. Not only does it show pride in your work, but it also shouts professionalism. If you want your readers to buy your book, then the most is required for satisfaction. So if you put a little in, you're going to get a little out. But if you work hard and spit shine it, I guarantee you, when you put your best foot forward, everybody can see it, and you will be rewarded for all of that hard work. Besides, it just makes sense to do things the right way. Or if you're not going to do it the right way, then don't do it at all. Now, I admire hard work, and it should show in the finished product. No one wants a half-baked pie or undercooked anything. Believe me, halfway is never good enough, and almost does not count. So if you want to be a contender in this race, you have to polish. And I cannot stress that enough. From start to finish, even before you start writing the book, you need to have a design. For me, I always equate writing a book or beginning the beginnings of writing a book. It's like a blueprint for building a house. That's the first thing you start with before you build a house. Before you build anything, you have a plan. And that's basically what it is. You have a plan. So on that plan, or in that plan, you start constructing things. You start constructing walls, if you're building a house, and if you're writing, you start constructing plots, and you start building characters, and you start building personalities, and all of these things. You have your protagonist, you have your antagonist, you have all of these things that makes that story what it will be in the end. So you want to start out doing it right, and then once you finish writing it, you want to make sure that it has been polished, to the highest shine. You don't want to leave anything out. You want to make sure that that it has been edited properly. You want to make sure that you have allowed someone else to read it. I found this very interesting last week when we had Scott on, and he was saying that it was one book that they had worked on, and he said that this book had undergone, all the extensive editing and all of that. And then he said they had 6 pairs of eyes on this book, reading it, proofreading it, checking it for mistakes. And he said when he opened the book, that was on the very first page, it was a mistake. And so it can happen, because your eyes are trained to see things a certain way, especially if you wrote the book. So sometimes it's good to let someone else take a look at it, because they'll find things that you miss. And the reason why you'll miss it is because you've been writing this book. You've been going back reading this book. So for you, everything seems in order. But then when someone else starts to read it, they'll see little mistakes that you've made that you didn't even notice. It may be a word, that should have been something else, A-N-D instead of an A-N, and a spell checker won't catch that because those words aren't spelled incorrectly. They're spelled right, but they're just, in the wrong context. So it's just little things like that. That you're accustomed to seeing because you've seen it so many times, because you've read your manuscript, you've read it through so many times to where your eyes are trained, and so you don't focus on that. But then when you get a fresh pair of eyes and you let them take a look at it, they'll find all the things that you missed. And so that's good to be able to do that. And then too, you want to make sure that you find someone to read it, and to give you their honest opinion on, what they think about your book, because that's important. It's very important. A little constructive criticism never hurt anyone. And it actually is meant to build up instead of tear down. So you want to make sure that you find yourself some book reviewers, and not book reviewers that you've paid for. And quite honestly, you shouldn't pay anyone to review your book. If they can't do it for free, then they don't need to do it at all. And if you're paying someone to do it, you have to question, if what they're saying is honest, whether it's good or whether it's bad. So, if you can find, they have a lot of sites out there where people, they actually put, they put notes out there on different sites. I've seen it on, sorry, my throat's trying to go out. I've seen it on Facebook, in those little groups where you have a lot of readers and writers. I've seen it on, what is the name of that? Gosh, I can't even think of it now. I'm part of it, but I can't even think of the, that is so crazy. I can't even think of it. But anyway, you go out there, you read books, and then people post on the different walls out there that they will read your book, depending on what genre it is, So, and even on Amazon, Amazon Market, if you go out there, they have people who are reviewers. They're not only product reviewers, but they also read books and they review those. And some of them are top reviewers where they've reviewed, just hundreds of books. And so those are the people that you want to sort of pitch your work to. And if you can get them, if they're not too busy, if you can contact them, because a lot of them have emails, and you can contact them and get them to read your book and then post those reviews on Amazon. Those are most helpful. And, not only having a polished manuscript or a polished book, But those reviews are also very important because, they draw readers to your book. Because I know, I read books too. I write them, but I also read books. And so that's one of the things that I always look for, or the reviews. And I don't necessarily look for the books that have thousands and thousands of reviews, because quite honestly, I've went out there and I've read the reviews, and then I've gotten the book. And, in the very first paragraph, it's like, this is just not for me. I don't like this book. And I don't, like I said, it's not for everybody. Every book out there is not for everybody. Everybody they have their own likes and dislikes. And so, I don't gauge a book, how well it is, how good it is, or how well it's written by those reviews, because I've read books that still, once again, had a lot of reviews, and then read the book and it was filled with all types of typos and different errors and things like that. And that sort of takes away from the story. Now if you don't have a trained eye to catch all of those mistakes, then, you'll read right through them and never notice. But if you have a trained eye, if you've ever written a book, or if you ever had to edit one before, you know what to look for. And so, of course, those things are going to stand out, and you'll find them, So that sort of takes away from the story, because instead of reading the story for enjoyment, you're reading the story to critique it. And so, and that's not what you want to do. You want to enjoy the story. You actually want to save, your reviews and critiques and all of those things for the end of the story, when they ask you to star it, when you give it either 1 star to 5 stars, and write a small review. That's the time when you actually want to critique the book that you read. You don't want to do that the whole while you're reading it, because you do want to enjoy the story. But, all of that is part of that book polish. You have to put the polish on it. And I'm not saying put the shine on it, to make it seem better than what it is, but you put the shine on it to enhance it, to make it more enjoyable, to make it stand out more, to highlight the story that you've written more. And because those things are important. Like I said, those are things that I look for when I'm book hunting, because I love to read, and I love to read great books. Now, right now, I am reading a book that I have read several times before, but the book is just that good to where I miss it when I'm finished, because it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this story's over. I got to go back and read it again. And so I've done that, and I do that. And have done that on many books that I've read, and most of them are series. I love series, and I can't get enough of those, especially if they're very good, if they're very exciting. First book all the way through to however many books in the series there are. All of them were just fantastic. So kudos to those authors. But a lot of that praise is given to all the people that work on that team to make sure that book is in tip-top shape. It's been polished front and back, and even in the within those jackets, they've brought it up to par, and and made this book everything that it can be. You can't take anything away from it, because it's on the up and up. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your work has been polished, because that's a representation of you. If you are a self-published author, and if you put a book out there that has not been written well, it has not been edited well, no one has proofread the book, then that's not shining a good light on you. So you want to make sure, especially if it's your first time out the gate, you want to make sure that you always put your best foot forward. You want to make sure that your work is presented in the best light possible, because that's your calling card. That's your foot in the door to all of the potential readers that you could gain, because you put out a good work of fiction or nonfiction or whatever genre you write in. That is your calling card to all of those readers, to say, okay, here I am. I want you to notice me. I want you to notice my work. My work is good. I've polished it by the front cover, what you see on the front cover, what you see on the back jacket. I put a lot of thought and time into this process. And so this is the result of it. And so that's what you want to do. You want to polish your manuscript. You want to polish your work. You want to make it shine so you will shine. So, we should always strive for perfection in all that we do, even if we think it's not workable. Believe me, in the end, your work will be much appreciated by you and those who support your work. All right, folks, so that's all we have for today. But before I let you go, I want to make sure that I give you these URLs so you can keep listening to Book Chat on Spreaker and all of the different other podcast channels that you can hear this show. So, of course, you always have the live version on Spreaker, and it's also live on all of the other platforms that are out there. But just in case you didn't hear the live version today, you can always listen to the recorded episodes. And of course, the first one is Spreaker, and that one is https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian E. Moore. You can also like me, follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and you can also reach out to me on Instagram, and I'm under God's Property 51 there. And also, if you follow my blog, my weekly blog, that is https://vivianemore.blogspot.com. And also you can check out my website, that is https://www.authorvivianemore.com. And also, in addition to Spreaker, you can listen to my podcast Book Chat on Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, and Podchaser. So those are all the different platforms where Book Chat is available on a weekly basis. And I hope you go out there and check it out for yourself. We're getting off to a good start here in 2020, so I'm excited about it, and I hope you are too. And also, I hope you're excited about tomorrow, because it's worship day tomorrow. And so I hope you plan on taking some family members, some friends, and some neighbors, and also take some children with you, and tell someone that you love them, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance that you get to say that. So I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.